There are two types of tomato plants. One produces for 3 to 4 weeks, then stops. The other produces for 5 months straight until frost kills it. Guess which one seed companies want you to buy? One type forces you back to the store every single year. The other type lets you save seeds and never buy again. One type was bred for shipping and shelf life. The other type was bred for flavor and abundance. Italian farmers have known this secret for 200 years. American gardeners have been systematically kept in the dark about it. The global seed market is worth over $60 billion. That entire industry depends on you not knowing what I am about to tell you. Every tomato plant on Earth falls into one of two categories. This is basic botany. It is taught in every agricultural college, and yet most home gardeners have never heard these terms explained properly. The first type is called Determinate. These plants grow to a fixed height, produce all their fruit in a concentrated burst lasting 3 to 4 weeks, then stop producing and die. The harvest window is short. Once those tomatoes are picked, the plant is finished for the season. The second type is called indeterminate. These plants keep growing all season long. They produce flowers and fruit continuously from summer until the first frost kills them. In warm climates, this can mean 6 months of continuous harvest. Even in cooler regions, you get 3 to 4 months of fresh tomatoes from a single plant. The difference in total yield is staggering. A determinate plant might give you 10 to 15 pounds of tomatoes in its short harvest window. An indeterminate plant can produce 20 to 30 pounds or more over its extended season. Some gardeners report harvesting over 100 tomatoes from a single well-maintained indeterminate plant. This is not opinion. This is not marketing. This is how the plants are genetically designed to grow. So here is the question nobody in the seed industry wants you to ask. Why are most commercial hybrid tomatoes determinate varieties? The global commercial seed market is worth between $60 and $90 billion annually. 4 companies control 84% of the American corn seed market. The same consolidation has happened across vegetables, including tomatoes. These companies face a fundamental problem. Seeds are living things. They reproduce. A farmer who saves seeds from this year's crop does not need to buy seeds next year. For thousands of years, this is exactly what farmers did. They saved the best seeds from the best plants and replanted them the following season, generation after generation, century after century. No seed companies needed. Then hybrids changed everything. A hybrid seed is created by crossing 2 different parent varieties. The first generation, called F1, shows desirable traits like uniformity, disease resistance, and high yield in concentrated bursts. But here is what seed companies discovered. When you save seeds from a hybrid plant and replant them, the second generation does not breed true. The plants are unpredictable. They revert to random characteristics of the parent varieties. The uniformity disappears. The yields become inconsistent. This is not a flaw. This is the feature. Hybrid seeds force farmers and gardeners to buy new seeds every single year. You cannot save and replant. You cannot build independence. You must return to the seed company season after season forever. The industry calls this planned obsolescence. I call it design dependency. Walk through any traditional Italian garden and you will see something different. Tomato plants that tower 6 feet tall or higher. Vines loaded with fruit from July through October. Grandmothers saving seeds in paper envelopes to plant next spring. These are heirloom varieties, open-pollinated tomatoes that have been passed down through families for generations. Some varieties date back 200 years or more. San Marzano tomatoes first appeared around 1823 in the town of San Marzano sul Sarno near Naples. The variety became so valuable that it now carries DOP protection, meaning authentic San Marzano tomatoes can only come from specific regions grown under strict guidelines. Costoluto Genovese is a deeply ribbed beefsteak tomato from Genoa that has been grown for centuries. The irregular shape makes it impossible to harvest by machine. The flavor makes it impossible to forget once you have tasted it. Cuore di Bue, meaning ox heart, produces massive heart-shaped fruits with exceptional sweetness. Principe Borghese is a small drying tomato that Italian families have strung up and preserved for winter for as long as anyone can remember. These varieties share something in common. They are all indeterminate. They all produce continuously until frost. And they all breed true from saved seeds. An Italian grandmother plants her tomatoes in spring. She harvests from summer through fall. She saves seeds from the best fruits. She plants those seeds the following year. The cycle continues indefinitely without ever purchasing another seed packet. The seed industry has no place in this system. There is no recurring revenue. There is no annual purchase. There is only abundance passed down through generations. The commercial agriculture industry faced a choice. They could embrace these traditional varieties and teach gardeners how to achieve food independence. Or they could develop alternatives that kept customers dependent on annual purchases. They chose dependency. Starting in the mid-20th century, seed companies invested heavily in hybrid tomato development. The stated goals were disease resistance, uniform ripening, and higher yields. The unstated goal was eliminating seed saving. But there was another factor. The rise of industrial agriculture demanded tomatoes that could be harvested by machine, shipped across continents, and stored for weeks without rotting. Flavor was not a priority. In fact, researchers have discovered that the very genes bred into commercial tomatoes for uniform color actually reduce the compounds responsible for taste. A 2012 study found that the mutation-giving supermarket tomatoes, their perfect red appearance, simultaneously eliminates sugars and aromatic compounds that create flavor. The tomatoes you find in grocery stores are not bred for your benefit. They are bred for the benefit of industrial harvesters, long-haul truckers, and warehouse managers. They are bred to look good after traveling thousands of miles. They are bred to feel firm after sitting on shelves for weeks. They are also bred to stop producing quickly so commercial operations can clear fields and replant. Determinate varieties fit perfectly into industrial harvest schedules. Indeterminate varieties, with their continuous production over months, do not. The industry optimized for everything except what matters to home gardeners: flavor, abundance, independence. The consequences of this shift are measurable. In 1903, American seed catalogs offered 408 varieties of tomatoes to home gardeners. By 1983, only 79 varieties remained commercially available. That is an 80% loss in just 80 years. Tomatoes actually fared better than most crops. Lettuce went from 497 varieties to 36. Cabbage dropped from 544 varieties to 28. Radishes fell from 463 to 27. Overall, 93% of American seed varieties disappeared between 1903 and 1983. Nearly a century of genetic heritage, wiped out in 3 generations. These were not random losses. The varieties that disappeared were predominantly open-pollinated heirlooms that could be saved and replanted. The varieties that remained were increasingly hybrids that required annual purchase. The seed companies did not need to ban heirloom varieties. They simply stopped selling them. They stopped promoting them. They stopped including them in catalogs. They let them fade from public awareness until most gardeners had never heard of continuous producing indeterminate tomatoes. Meanwhile, the marketing departments went to work. Hybrids were promoted as modern, improved, disease-resistant, high-yielding. The language implied that old varieties were inferior, unreliable, outdated. What the marketing never mentioned was seed saving. What they never explained was the difference between 3 weeks of harvest and 5 months of harvest. What they never admitted was that their entire business model depended on your ignorance. Let me show you the economics that seed companies hope you never understand. A packet of hybrid tomato seeds costs $3 to $5. Those seeds cannot be saved and replanted reliably. Next year you buy another packet. The year after, another. Over 20 years, you spend $60 to $100 on tomato seeds alone. A packet of heirloom tomato seeds costs the same $3 to $5, but you buy it once. From that first crop, you save seeds. The following year, you plant your saved seeds. They grow true. You harvest. You save seeds again. 20 years later, you are still growing tomatoes from that original $5 purchase. 1 purchase versus 20 purchases. The math is simple. The seed industry prefers that you never do this calculation. But the economics extend further. Remember the difference between determinate and indeterminate production. A determinate plant gives you tomatoes for 3 to 4 weeks. To have fresh tomatoes all summer, you must plant multiple successions, which means buying more seeds, starting more transplants, and using more garden space. An indeterminate plant gives you tomatoes for 3 to 6 months. 1 plant, 1 planting, continuous harvest, less work, less seed cost, more tomatoes. The difference compounds over a lifetime. A gardener who understands this system achieves genuine food independence. A gardener kept ignorant of this system remains a perpetual customer. Beyond economics, there's the matter of taste. If you have only eaten supermarket tomatoes, you have never actually tasted a tomato. That is not exaggeration. The compounds that create tomato flavor have been systematically bred out of commercial varieties. Researchers at the University of Florida analyzed the chemical composition of modern commercial tomatoes versus heirloom varieties. They found that modern tomatoes contain significantly lower levels of sugars, acids, and volatile aromatic compounds. The molecules responsible for that unmistakable tomato taste are simply absent. This happened because flavor is linked to traits that industrial agriculture considers undesirable. Soft texture means bruising during transport. High sugar content means shorter shelf life. Aromatic compounds dissipate during extended storage. Every generation of breeding that optimized for shipping and storage simultaneously degraded flavor. The tomatoes became prettier, they became firmer, they became more uniform, and they became increasingly tasteless. Heirloom varieties never underwent this optimization. They were selected by families and communities who cared about one thing above all else: how the tomato tasted when you bit into it. When you grow an Italian heirloom variety, you are eating a tomato that was bred for flavor over 200 years, every generation of seed saving selected for taste. The genetics encode centuries of accumulated deliciousness. When you buy a commercial hybrid, you're eating a tomato bread for the convenience of corporations. Flavor was sacrificed so trucking companies could save money on refrigeration. Let me give you the practical knowledge that the seed industry has worked to suppress. First, understand the terminology. Indeterminate means the plant produces continuously until frost. Open pollinated means the seeds breed true and can be saved. Heirloom means the variety is at least 50 years old and has been passed down through generations. Most heirlooms are both indeterminate and open pollinated. Second, seek out these varieties specifically. Do not assume the tomato seeds at your local garden center offer these characteristics. Most mass market seeds are determinate hybrids. You must look deliberately for what the industry has hidden. Here are Italian varieties worth growing. San Marzano is the legendary paste tomato. Indeterminate vines produce plum-shaped fruits with intense flavor and meaty texture. The harvest continues for months. Seeds saved from these plants grow true the following year. Costaludo Genovese produces large, ribbed beefsteak tomatoes with outstanding flavor. The plants grow tall and produce prolifically from midsummer through fall. This variety has been grown in Italy for centuries. Italian Heirloom is a massive slicer that produces fruits weighing 12 to 20 ounces. The balanced sweet acid flavor makes it perfect for fresh eating. Indeterminate plants produce for the entire season. Principe Borghese is perfect for drying. Small oval fruits grow in clusters. Plants produce abundantly until frost. Italian families have preserved these tomatoes for winter use for generations. Cuore di Bue, the ox heart tomato, produces enormous heart-shaped fruits with exceptional sweetness. Indeterminate growth means continuous harvest through the season. Third, learn to save seeds. The process is simple. Select the best fruits from the healthiest plants. Scoop out the seeds and surrounding gel. Ferment in water for 2 to 3 days until the gel breaks down. Rinse and dry the seeds thoroughly. Store in paper envelopes in a cool, dark place. Seeds remain viable for years. Fourth, never buy those varieties again. One successful season of seed saving creates perpetual independence. You have broken the cycle of annual purchases. You have reclaimed what the industry took from your grandparents. Let me paint a picture of what your garden can become. You plant your indeterminate tomatoes in late spring. By midsummer, the first fruits ripen. You pick them. More flowers appear. More fruits develop. You pick those. The cycle continues. Every few days throughout summer, you walk to your garden and harvest ripe tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes for salads. Fresh tomatoes for sandwiches. Fresh tomatoes for sauce. Week after week after week. In late summer, the production peaks. You have more tomatoes than you can eat fresh. You preserve them. You can them. You dry them. You share them with neighbors. Fall arrives. The plants keep producing. You are harvesting tomatoes in September, in October, until the first frost finally ends the season. From one planting in May, you harvest until November. 6 months of production from plants you will never need to buy again. Compare this to the determinate alternative. You plant in May. You harvest for 3 weeks in July. The plants die. Your tomato season is over before summer ends. This is the choice that seed companies hope you never understand. 3 weeks versus 6 months. Annual purchase versus permanent independence. Tasteless shipping varieties versus centuries of accumulated flavor. The information has always existed. It was simply never profitable to share it with you. The global seed industry is worth over $60 billion. 4 corporations control the majority of the market. Their business model depends entirely on repeat purchases. Indeterminate heirloom tomatoes threaten that model. A gardener who plants Italian varieties learns to save seeds. A gardener who saves seeds stops buying seeds. A customer who stops buying is a customer lost forever. The industry response has been systematic erasure, not through bans or restrictions, through simple neglect. Stop selling the varieties, stop promoting them, stop teaching about them. Let the knowledge fade until nobody remembers what was lost. 93% of American seed varieties have disappeared since 1903. That is not an accident. That is the intended outcome of a business model built on dependency, but the knowledge survives. Seed savers have preserved thousands of heirloom varieties. Small seed companies specialize in open-pollinated genetics. Communities exchange seeds through libraries and swaps. The resistance exists. And now you know. You understand the difference between 3 weeks and 6 months. You understand why hybrids cannot be saved. You understand the economics of perpetual purchase versus permanent independence. The seed industry prayed you would never learn this. They prayed the Italian secret would stay buried. They prayed you would keep buying determinate hybrids year after year, never questioning why your tomato season ends so quickly. That prayer goes unanswered today. For 200 years, Italian families have grown the same tomato varieties. They plant in spring, they harvest until frost, they save seeds for the following year. The cycle continues without interruption, without purchase, without dependency. The commercial seed industry built a $60 billion market by breaking that cycle. They developed hybrids that cannot be saved. They promoted determinate varieties with short harvest windows. They bred flavor out of tomatoes to optimize for shipping. They let 93% of seed varieties disappear. They did not do this because hybrids are better for gardeners. They did this because hybrids are better for seed company shareholders. The plants that produce for 5 months still exist. The varieties that taste like tomatoes actually should still grow. The seeds that save and replant true are still available if you know where to look. One packet of heirloom seeds can provide tomatoes for the rest of your life. One season of seed saving can break the cycle of annual purchases forever. One gardener who understands this system is one customer the industry has lost permanently. Italian grandmothers have known this for 200 years. The seed industry has spent decades making sure you did not. Now you know. Plant the varieties that produce until frost. Learn the simple skill of seed saving. Taste what a tomato is supposed to taste like. Join the quiet resistance of gardeners who have reclaimed their independence. The $60 billion industry cannot survive if enough people understand what you now understand. That is exactly why they prayed you would never learn it. And that is exactly why you needed to hear it today.